Here we go. Shalom, everyone. This is Brother Doug again with my brothers and sisters at the Awakened by Yahuah group. I'm with my sister Laura, my sister Shoshana, my brother Dennis, my brother Bobby, my sister Kristen, and my sister Sally. And we are doing a study today that is called, Are Believers in Yahusha Gentiles or Yashraal? Meaning in the modern English tongue, Israel. Are we Israel or Gentiles? And so we're going to be starting this away in the first portion right now. We are going to be going to what is Israel, aka seed of Abraham. Okay, so we are first going to be going to the first prophecy ever in Scripture, Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. And we're going to be starting off right here where it says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, the serpent and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall crush his heel. Okay, so this is talking about the seed of the woman versus the seed of the serpent, and we're going to later put together why this is pertinent and why this connects to Israel and the Gentiles. Okay, so first thing we have to realize is the seed of the woman versus seed of serpent. There's only two seeds on earth. Number two, this is also a prophecy that talks about Yahusha that comes from the seed of the woman. Obviously, this is spiritual, that he is going to physically crush the head of the serpent, but these seeds have to be spiritual. So now I'm going to continue this with Genesis 12 as we're going to get into what is the seed of Abraham, what is Israel, okay? It says, Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 to 2, and here we go. Now Yahuah had said unto Abram, Get thee out of your country and from your kindred and from your father's house unto a land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. So the actual correct Hebrew term is baraking. And actually, Yahuah is basically saying to Abram, all right, from your seed, from you, I'm going to make a great nation. Meaning that Yahuah's nation, his set-apart nation, as you can see later on in the Tanakh and in the Brit Hadashah, his set-apart nation, Yashraal, comes from Abraham physically. So that's where we started off there. Also, you got Genesis chapter 17, and we're going to go there, verses 2 to 4. We're going to start at. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and Yahuah talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. Okay? Now, very important in verse 2, it says, I will make of you a great nation. Okay? And so it actually says my covenant is with you and your seed. Now, another verse that I almost forgot to really plug in here is Jeremiah 31 to 31. I just want to add to this portion here because this connects straight with the new covenant. Now, Christians say that, we are under the new covenant, not the old covenant. Well, if you're under the new covenant, you have to be part of Yashraal. Because it says in Jeremiah 31:31, Behold, the days come, says Yahuah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yashraal, the northern kingdom, and with the house of Yehudah, the southern kingdom, with both kingdoms which make up the 12 tribes. So Jeremiah 31:31, plugging that with Genesis 17:2 to 4, that is basically saying the same exact thing, that Yahuah's people is this great nation that came from Abraham, okay? Now, if we continue in Genesis 17 and go down to verse 21, bear with me really quick. Gotta get to the chapter here. There we go. All right, so Genesis 17:21 says, "But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto you at this time in the next year." So the same covenant he made with Abraham, he's making with his son Isaac. Okay, so the seed of Abraham is continuing physically down the line here. So, all right, so that is the seed of Abraham, aka Yashraal, Israel, literally is the seed of Abraham. Okay, so now we also want to also go to, we got a couple more here in part when we got John 8, verses 32 to 44. So we're going to go into them real quick, and we're going to do John chapter 8, 32 to 44. He says, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And they answered him, We be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How do you say we shall be made free?" Yahushua answered them, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever commits transgression of the law," because that's what sin is, according to 1 John 3:4, "is the servant of the transgression of the law. And the servant abides not in the house forever, but the Son abides forever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. I know that you are Abraham's seed," basically saying that you're physical children of him, "but you seek to kill me. Because my word has no place in you, I speak that which I have seen with my father, and you do that which you have seen with your father." They answered and said unto him, "Abraham is our father." Yahushua said unto them, "If you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth, which I have heard of Yahuah. This did not Abraham." Basically, Abraham would never seek to kill someone that brings the truth of the Father. That's what he's saying in verse 40. "You do the deeds of your father." Then they said to him, "We be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even Elohim." Yahushua said unto them, "If Elohim were your father, ye would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from Elohim. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech, even because you cannot hear my word? You are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and did not abide in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." So we're going to stop at verse 44. So basically, Yahushua is saying, yeah, you're physical descendants of Abraham, but that doesn't mean you are his children. Basically, Yahushua is saying that if you were children of Abraham, you would do his works. So he's trying to use this terminology to explain that spiritually, you are of your father, the devil. You're spiritual children of the devil. And so that's what Yahushua is telling the Pharisees and Sadducees here. So now we're going to move on to John chapter 6, verse 63. And this here says, "It is the spirit," let me change my translation here. "It is the spirit that gives life. The flesh does not profit at all. The words that I speak to you are spirit and are life." So build upon what he said in John chapter 8. Yahushua is saying in John 6, verse 63, that it does not profit to be a physical seed. It does not profit. Your ethnicity does not profit you. Okay, meaning that what profits us is our walk. Are we children of the Father, or are we children of the devil, spiritually speaking? And that's what he's trying to show them. Okay, so now that we've established what Israel is, Yashraal is, they are the seed of Abraham. Now we're going to go to the other seed on earth in part 2. We are going right now to what are Gentiles? What is the other seed? So we're first going to go to Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1 to 3. So Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 to 3. And this is saying, "Hear ye the word of Yahuah, which he has spoken to you, O house of Yashraal. Right here, he's basically making a statement to his people, Yashraal. Thus says Yahuah, learn ye not the ways of the heathen, or some translations would say pagans, and be not alarmed at the signs of the sky. Basically, do not worship the host of heaven, the stars, and the moon and the sun, for they are alarmed at them falling on their faces. For the customs of the nations, the Gentiles, are vain. It is a tree cut out of the forest, the work of the carpenter, or a molten image. So, in short, if you keep reading that chapter, it gets into another subject that we'll do another day about Nimrodness, I like to call it, and about how believers, if we are Yashraal, which is the people of Yahuah, his set-apart great nation that comes from Abraham, how we are supposed to be a set-apart nation. And we are supposed to not do what the nations do. And my apologies, I actually forgot 2 verses from part 1, so let me just fill those in right now. And how spiritually speaking, we are the seed of Abraham, Yashraal, by believing in Messiah Yahushua. So just bear with me. I apologize again for the listeners and viewers. I forgot, there's from the book of Galatians, there's a couple of cross references I forgot to put in the first part. So let me do Galatians chapter 3, verse 16 and verse 29 real quick. And it says, now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He says, not into seeds as of many, but as of one, into your seed, which is the Messiah. Then verse 29, and if you be the Messiahs, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So in short, if we believe in Messiah, we are the seed of Abraham, which according to Genesis 3:15 is the seed of the woman. Okay, so just to kind of break it down for you guys. So now, going back to part 2, we have Jeremiah 10, 1-3, which basically is showing you that one characteristic of the Gentiles is they worship foreign deities that are basically the signs of the heavens, and they have vain customs. So that's just one characteristic of them. Another characteristic of them we're going to get to in our next cross-reference, which is Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 4. So follow me to Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 4. And actually I'm going to start off, I think I'm going to start off with verse 2 actually to get some context here. You shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations, the Gentiles, which you shall possess, serve their mighty ones, okay? They don't serve Yahuah. Upon the high places and upon the hills and under every green tree, again, the Christmas tree. And you shall overthrow their altars and break down their pillars and burn their groves with fire, and you shall hew down the graven images of their mighty ones and destroy the names of them out of that place. You shall not do so unto Yahuah your Elohim, but in the place which Yahuah your Elohim shall choose out your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall you seek, and there you shall come. And then it follows on, if you go further in the chapter, it talks about you shall do not after all the things that we do here this day. Every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. For you are not as yet come to rest. And okay, I thought it was going to talk about you shall not worship Yahuah like they worship their mighty ones. So, but basically in Deuteronomy it's talking about destroying these high places, destroying their idols, destroying their mighty ones, and basically not being like the nations. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. And that we as Yahuah's chosen nation are not to be like the Gentiles, not to be like the heathen, the pagans. And so also we have, let's see here, we also have Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 to 2 we're going to start at. So let's go to Ephesians chapter 2, 1 to 2, and that says, and you, okay, here we go. Let me try the ISR here. And you were dead in trespasses and transgressions, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the ruler of the authority of the air, of the spirit that is now working in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we all once lived in the lusts of our flesh, doing the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, as also the rest. So Ephesians 2, 1 to 3 show us that the Gentiles, when we were once Gentiles and strangers to Yahuah, we were basically walking according to the spirit that's working with the children of disobedience, working in them, meaning basically Hashatan's spirit. And that Gentiles actually are children of Hashatan. So Ephesians 2, 1 to 2 is where we just left off at. Now we're going to go to Ephesians chapter 2, verses 11 to 19. Therefore, remember that you once Gentiles in the flesh, meaning not natural-born Israelites, who are called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision made in the flesh by hands, that at that time past you were without Messiah, excluded from the citizenship of Yashraal, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no expectation without Yahuah in the world. But now in Messiah Yahusha, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of the Messiah. For he is our peace, who has made both one, having broke down the partition of the barrier, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the law of the commandments in dogma, so as to create in himself one renewed man from the two, thus making peace, and to completely restore to favor both of them unto Yahuah in one body, through the stake, having destroyed the enmity by it. And having come, he brought as good news peace to you who were far off, and peace to those near. Because through him we both have access to the Father by one Spirit. So then you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the set apart ones, members of the household of Yahuah. So in short, to summarize what Yahusha is saying through Paul is that, okay, you were once far off, meaning naturally you were not part of his people, ethnically wise. But now you have been brought near. And this goes for the natural born too. As we will get further on in our study, we're going to get on to the Romans 11, the grafting in concept, so bear with us. But for the Ephesians 2, basically this is saying that if you don't have Messiah, you are not near. Okay? You're strangers to Yahuah if you don't have the Son. So that can apply to natural-born Gentiles and also natural-born Israelites. It applies to both groups. So basically what this chapter is talking about, that he made one through the stake, meaning that we are all one body of believers. We are all Yashraal spiritually. And we are now we all can be one in basically one set apart nation. We are all Yashraal through Yahusha giving his life for us and rising again from the dead. He gave us the ability to be reconciled to Yahuah. So that's basically what Paul's talking about, the two become one, the one new man. So as we continue here.
And Doug, can I jump in quick?
Yeah, sure.
The main thing that I saw in those verses was, before you were not granted citizenship into Yashraal, but now after Messiah you do have citizenship. That's the 2 into 1. The citizenship part is very important. It's because, like, even in these days, you know, like, we're American citizens, but we could go into a foreign land, but we're not a part of that land until we attain citizenship. But once we attain citizenship, Once we attain that citizenship, we are citizens of that foreign land. We are no longer foreigners, we're citizens. I just want to throw that out there.
That was definitely good to add in there, that the important part is the citizenship, and that both groups were actually strangers to the citizenship. So anyone that didn't believe in Yahusha was strangers, basically. And Paul was also just comparing the spiritual aspect to the physical aspect, and saying that basically you are now part of one body, part of one citizenship. So the two becoming one. So thank you, Brother Bobby. I think now we're going to go to part 3, which is going to be dealing with the grafting in concept. So now we're going to actually get into the meat of this study, and the concept of the wild branches becoming part of the natural olive tree. So we're going to turn to Romans chapter 11, and it says, I say then, has Yahuah rejected his people? Let it not be, for I also am a Yashraalite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Now, right away, okay, has Yahuah rejected his people? Paul emphatically says no. So let's understand that he's referring to a partial hardening. And if I'm going to do a quick cross-reference right now before I finish Romans 11, because I want to get this cross-reference in. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 22. This says, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Yashraalites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. And notice that we started off by saying in Galatians 3:29, if you are of Messiah, you are the seed of Abraham. This is all connecting here. I hope you guys can see that. This is all connecting. Galatians 3:29 with 2 Corinthians 11:22 with the first verse of Romans 11. It's all the same terminology. This is the same thing. Okay, so now we're going to continue to verse 2 of Romans 11. So I'm just building a foundation here, what he means by the seed of Abraham. Okay, and then it says, he has not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Now you know what the scripture says of Eliyahu, how he makes intercession to Yahuah against Yashraal, saying, they have killed your prophets and digged down your altars. I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what Yahuah says, answering unto him, I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then, at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of favor, the chosen of favor, meaning that there's a remnant right now that is connected to the remnant back then in Elijah's day. So as we continue to verse 6, and if by favor, then is it no more of works? Otherwise favor is no more favor. But if it be of works, then is it no more favor? Otherwise work is no more work. What then? Yashraal has not obtained that which he seeks for, but the chosen have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Yahuah has given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And David says, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a repayment unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, and that they may not see, and bow down their back away always. I say then, has they stumbled that they should fall? By no means, but rather through their fall salvation is come unto the nations, for to provoke them to jealousy. And this is very important here, because in Genesis 48:19, this is where Paul is getting this, that they should fall that salvation would come to the Gentiles, because it is prophesied through Joseph, that Ephraim would be the fullness of the nations. And we'll get to that at the end of this chapter. You'll see why I implanted that in there. So basically, salvation has come into the Gentiles, verse 11, for to provoke them, the natural branches, to jealousy. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you, Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, meaning his physical brothers, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be set apart, the lump also set apart. And if the root be set apart, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, keyword some, partial hardening, and you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, with them partaking of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if you boast, you bear not the fruit. You bear not the root, but the root bears you. You will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off. You stand by trust, belief. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if Yahuah spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not you. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Yahuah on them which fell severity, but toward you goodness, if you continue in the goodness. Otherwise, you also shall be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for Yahuah is able to graft them in again. For if you were cut off of the olive tree which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature in a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brothers, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in partial blindness, has happened to Yashraal, meaning the natural branches, until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. And so all Yashraal shall be saved. Keyword shall be saved. That's for another time in another study about are we saved now or not. But as you can see, it says future tense, shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Sion the deliverer, and shall turn away wickedness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their transgressions. As concerning the glad tidings, they are enemies for your sakes. Now, the glad tidings refers to prophecy about the good news being preached, the Besorah. They are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for their father's sakes. For the gifts and calling of Yahuah are without repentance. For as you in times past have not believed Yahuah, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief, even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they also may obtain mercy. For Yahuah has concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. Oh, the depth of the riches of both the wisdom and knowledge of Yahuah, how unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. For who has known the mind of Yahuah, or who has been his counselor, or who has first given to him and shall be repaid unto him again? For of him and through him and to him are all things, to whom be the esteem forever. So in conclusion, this is talking about the grafting in, that basically we are not to boast against some of the natural branches that have been cut off. Another thing I want to point out is it says a partial blinding. Okay, that means not all of them were cut off. The ones that believed on Yahusha were grafted in. And so we are grafted in as wild branches. But natural branches also that believe in Yahusha are grafted right back in, as Yahuah says. So the concept, I just want them to understand the concept of that Yashraal is no longer his people. He totally rejects them. Paul totally denounces that in Romans 11, verse 1. Totally denounces that. So there's no new people of the Father. Yahuah has always had the same people. Same people all the way through the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah. You know, the Old and New Testament both show that Yashraal is his people. And he chose. So basically, I just wanted to get that concept in there. Now we're going to continue here. We're going to go to the last part. This is our conclusion section, which is called You Can't Have Two Masters. Now, this is going to also get into the seed war here that we started in Genesis 3:15. You can't be in between. You're a child of Yahuah, you're a child of the devil. There's no in between. So you can't have two masters, okay? First, we're going to go with Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. And it says in Matthew 6:24, no man can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahuah and money. Okay, so now why would Yahusha say money? Well, it's funny you could ask that because money is not just an object, according to scripture. Actually, money was a deity worshipped by heathen, by pagans. And actually, there's a person behind the deity of money. So if you will go with me to Isaiah in the Septuagint version, if you have the Bretons or even the modern LXX 2012, if you go with me to Isaiah 65:11, it says, but you are they, and it only says in the Septuagint version, just to let you know, but you are they that have left me and forget my set apart mouth, and prepare a table for the devil, Hashatan, and fill up the drink offering to fortune. So basically, Yahusha, and obviously him and his disciples read the Septuagint. That was the only Tanakh available around that time. So obviously they knew the Septuagint. It's probably Yahusha, Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. He is referencing back to Isaiah 65:11, saying that you cannot serve Yahuah and the devil, basically, to make it basic modern English. You cannot serve Yahuah, you cannot serve Yahuah and Gadriel, Hashatan, at the same time. So you have to choose who today you're going to serve. And let me see. Let me also go to the book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 13, which I believe is a second witness of this, says, let me make sure. I don't know why it's in Isaiah. Hold on a second. Luke chapter 16, verse 13 says, no servant can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahuah and money, or Gadriel, because he is the deity of money. Okay, so now the very last one, and this I think is our conclusion here, and the decision that we all have to make. Whom shall you serve today? And we're going to go to the book of Yahusha, Joshua, and I will go in the Septuagint version actually, and read Yahusha chapter 24, verse 15, which says, but if it seems not good to you to serve Yahuah, choose to yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the mighty ones of your fathers that were on the other side of the river, or the mighty ones of the Amorites, among whom you dwell upon their land. But I and my house will serve Yahuah, for he is set apart. That is the decision we have to make. Will we be Gentiles and keep living living according to the ways, the futility of this world, in the spirit of disobedience, or will we be Yashraal, Yahuah's set apart nation, reconciled to him by the Son, Yahushua Messiah, who died for us and rose again. That is the decision every human being has to make. So I'm hoping that this study brought everyone who listened here and watched this study, hopefully it opened your eyes and maybe helped some people unlearn a lot of Christianity that we have to unlearn as we leave the church. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us, and hopefully this message brought you guys, this study brought you guys. Shalom.
Shalom.
It's going fast, but I caught just about everything.